And I think we'll go in terms of alphabetical order by the names of the parties. See, that would be D, L, and G.
No, so D, G, and L.
D, G, and L. So George, you get about 2 minutes to start, and then Larry, you'll have 2 minutes. And Stuart, you have 2 minutes. You get the back cleanup. It's always the best position. Who's cold? Don't lie and don't be proud.
Oh, that was a specific person.
Someone's cold.
Okay.
Who's cold? No one's cold?
I'll hold it on.
All right. You see somebody cold, make them weird.
All right, my name is George Temple, and I'm the chair of the Charleston County Democratic Party, and I'm thrilled to see everybody here. And I'm thrilled to see people here because what this does is to focus attention on the issues. The attention on the issues that are really significant, that are really important, and that we need to deal with. And there is the crux that we need to deal with. Bringing the issues to the fore is certainly of importance, but how do you implement change? You implement change through a party. And I would suggest to you that you implement that change either through the Democratic or the Republican Party. There are others, as has been mentioned, Libertarian, Green parties, but the two parties that are going to make a significant change are the Republican and Democratic parties. If you want to make change, align yourself with the policies of either one, and that change will happen. How do we have it organized in Charleston County? CharlestonCountyDemocrats.net is our website. Go to that. You can find out how to contact us. We put information out there what our meetings are. William said stay local. Our meetings are local. We meet on the third Thursday of the month in North Charleston City. Yeah, North Charleston City Hall. We have quarterly meetings of the executive committee, which is made up of the people who are elected to be the head of their precincts that make up the voting blocks of Charleston County and the other counties in the state of South Carolina. So if you're interested in change and political change, implement that change by following what the parties do, by becoming involved at the precinct level, finding out people who think like you do, aligning yourself with them, and working together to get a voting block so that your voices can be heard. And you can do that, as I suggest, through the Democratic Party by looking to see what events we have going on CharlestonDemocrats.net, or I have being passed around a clipboard. Put your name and your email on that, and we do email a newsletter that lets you know what's going on in the Democratic Party. We're open. We want you involved. We want your voices heard.
Thanks.
Thank you, George. I represent an international movement over 40 years now. In dozens of countries around the world, Green Party is changing the way corporations, multinational corporations, are able to control our lives. Less so in many countries, more so in this country, and that's why we're here today. The Green Party of the United States is the oldest continuous third party now, last 34 years. I'd like to remind everyone...
We're 40.
The way that parties have grown in U.S. history has been often in response to corruption. So I'd like to remind everyone here that the Republican Party was a brand new party, started in Iowa back in 1856, and is now the ruling party in this country, and it's certainly in this state where we have one-party rule. We have a duopoly where the two favored parties by law in many states, and certainly in this state, laws heavily favor only two parties. Now, we do have ballot access in this state for about 7 parties. So I'm honored to be here with the Libertarians and with George, my friend from the Democrats. We also have what's called fusion in this state. That means you can run on more than one ballot line. And this is a way that people can borrow from each other in progressive movements. But the bottom line is, and the reason why, again here, we are here is because of corporations totally corrupting our nation and our local economies. And I got a sign over there, and it's a direct quote from Benito Mussolini. Fascism is the merger with our government and corporations. We have to repeal the United States Supreme Court decisions where they pretend that a corporation is a person with absolutely more rights than all of us real people. So I'd like to end again by saying that the Green Party does not accept corporate donations, and the Green Party candidates are growing across the country, and we had 10 candidates last year here in South Carolina, and we will continue to encourage people to join the party, run as a Green, stand for our 10 key values. And if you have any questions, I've got literature here and cards. We meet at Earth Fair. We just had our monthly meeting last night, but we also have state party meetings, and we're part of the Progressive Network up in Columbia, which will be a week from Saturday.
Hi, I'm Stuart Flood. If this had been 5 years ago, I'd probably have to repeat the word libertarian 2 or 3 times and then maybe explain it to you, but it seems that we're a very popular word these days. Anybody gets on TV and they want you to like them, they say, I'm a libertarian, because we've suddenly become something good. And I guess it's a good thing after 40 years, not 34, as the 3rd largest party in the country. Granted, we're not the 3rd oldest, and we sort of like that. We were formed in 1971, the evening that Nixon went on the air and pretty much froze our economy, froze wages, froze prices, took us off the remaining silver standard, I think was that year also, and took us down the path that has led us to today, where we do have fiat currency, where we have this thing called the Federal Reserve. Most of you have heard of Ron Paul. He was the Libertarian candidate for president in 1988. And I'll tell you this, if the Republicans prevent him from being their nominee and he walks into our convention in May, he'll be on the ballot in November in all 50 states, because we do have ballot access. And that's the purpose of a party. The political process has been changed over the years. You used to just be able to walk up and say, I want to run for office. You used to be able to say, I want to run for county council or city council. Now, at the city level, it's still somewhat easy. But the county level, how do you run for office? Well, if you just want to run, you got to get a petition. You got to get a whole bunch of people to get on the ballot, or you go to one of the parties. Now, I'll respectfully disagree with my Democratic colleague, because the law has been changed by the Democrats and Republicans. There is no such thing as precinct reorganization anymore. There are no precinct presidents. They've eliminated that process. Those in power now stay in power. If you look at the election law changes they made this year, they've gotten rid of it. So you can't just walk into a precinct reorganization and say, I want to get involved and I want to be a member of the party. We're not allowed to have them anymore. No, we're in fight with the Election Commission over this right now. They changed the law last year. There is no more precinct reorganization. It's gone. It's out of the election law.
You didn't say that. You said that.
I said they have changed the process. There's no more precinct reorganization.
But you said that you can't come in and be a leader of the precinct.
You can't. That's right, because that process has been eliminated by law.
Is he saying that right?
Yeah, it's been eliminated.
No, I don't know that.
We don't know about that.
We just went through our precinct reorganization. In most counties, they wouldn't even accept the paperwork because they said the precinct reorganization doesn't exist anymore. They eliminated it last year.
Well, I was just at an election meeting last night, and that's all they talked about, precinct reorganization.
Check with the State Election Commission. Trust me, it's been changed.
I was at their meeting on last evening, and they were talking about that.
Well, they've changed it. They've changed the process. Go look at election law.
Process, but they still have it in existence. I mean, they were talking about precinct being reorganized, and
that whole section of the code has been eliminated. Trust me. You can check. It's been eliminated. They struck the whole thing. Anyway, if I can continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Regardless of that, if you want to run for office, you've got to go to a party. Now, the Democrats and Republicans choose to have primaries, which is a good thing because it gives the voters a chance to pick the candidate. The Green Party, Libertarian Party, many others elect by convention, which means if you wanted to run as a Green or you wanted to run as a Libertarian, you come to the county party, you make your case, and the delegates at the convention pick you. You want to run as a Democrat or Republican, you face off against your opponents in a primary. And the local process is important. The problem we have is that not enough people get interested. People will say, you know, somebody good should run for office. Somebody good should be on county council. I don't agree with that person. Well, you know what? Stand up and run. Stand up and do something. If your neighbor is saying, you know, somebody should get up there and run for the school board because nobody's doing a good job representing us, if that's what they believe, tell them to run. Tell them to get involved. If they believe in the philosophy of the Democratic Party, run as a Democrat. If they believe in the philosophy of the Republicans, run as a Republican, run as a Green. If you believe in freedom, if you believe in economic freedom, which Republicans claim to believe in, if you believe in social freedom that Democrats claim to believe in, run as a Libertarian, because that's what we believe in. We believe that if you are not harming someone, you should be allowed to do whatever it is you're doing, if it's not harming someone. If you're harming someone, it's wrong. You know, if you're driving drunk down the road, you shouldn't be able to drive drunk down the road. You want to drink in your house, drink in your house. Same thing goes with, you know, economically. You want to be free to sell. You should be allowed to have a business. You should be allowed to sell things. You should be allowed to go out and seek work and get a job. The problem is we have too much government regulation, too much government control, and as my colleague from the Green Party said, yes, at the national level, the large corporations and the government have turned this country into what many believe is becoming a fascist state, which is not good. Anyway, I think I've said my piece for right now. I think are we going to do a round robin, or are we going to debate? What are we going to do?
I want to reinforce a point that you made, and that point is that get involved, run. I have a candidate recruitment committee, and I have that candidate recruitment committee with mixed emotions. In that, people that want to run usually rise up out of a passion for making a change. They don't see something that's going the way they feel it should. They want a I-526 or some issue just incites them and gets them excited about doing something. And the way to do that is get that excitement, channel it into change, and do it by running. So couldn't agree with you more. Let's get out there. Candidate recruitment committee is one thing, but it needs to be generated by groups like this who say, yeah, I'm out here, I want to do this, and the way to do this is to run for office. I ran for county council in 2006 against Strom's baby boy, and it was because I had a passion about what was going on James Island, Folly Beach, and the surrounding areas in Charleston County. But get involved. It's a great point.
I think everyone here today, George and my libertarian friend here, are committed to democracy at the local level here. And there's nothing more local than the upcoming city elections. There's nothing more local than the upcoming county elections and the upcoming school board elections. Many of these offices have 1 or 0 candidates running to fill open slots. You're going to discover when you do decide to run, you go to the County Election Commission over in North Charleston, and you'll find out there's a couple little rules. If you do decide to run as a partisan, it is possible to run by petition. It is possible to run as a write-in candidate, and we did elect in constituent district number 10 a write-in candidate with about 80 votes. The second place candidate got 50 votes, and I got 15 votes. So even if you try the sneaky way of getting in when no one really knows except your friends, it is possible to win an election as a write-in candidate for some of these local offices. But most important, we have to preserve our democracy, because if we don't participate, it will go away, and the money interest, the corporate interest, will pick it up and run with it.
The problem here is that we're not disagreeing on anything, so we can't really have it. No, granted, we disagree in how you get to a good republic, which we are. So that's where we disagree. If we were a democracy, we'd be voting on everything. You vote for representatives. And if we had a working republic, you wouldn't be having protests like this, your demonstrations. You wouldn't need them because the system would work. And the problem is that the system has broken. And it took it a generation, 2 generations to break. And unfortunately, it's going to take a few years to fix, but it means getting everyone involved. So when you leave here...
I have a question. One of the reasons most of us are here is that we've come to believe that all the major parties, especially the Democrats and the Republicans, have been to some degree corrupted by corporate influence.
Amen.
And
Of course they have.
And I want to know what any individual party is doing. I wish the Republicans were here too. But what are they doing to try to, from the inside, stop that from happening so that we can have faith in those parties again?
Well, years ago, I used to be in the Republican Party. I defected to the Libertarian Party about 6 years ago. And I can tell you, from when I was in the Republican Party, I didn't see anything on the inside trying to fix it. Now, that was 6 years ago.
Well, I just want to make one point. I know you said something about James Island, Folly Beach. Right. I understand that they reincorporated James Island and looking to do that again.
They are. In fact, the town of James Island, the city of Charleston took the town to court, and ultimately the town of James Island lost, is disbanded. They're working now to reform. 50 years ago, my own, and this is not a county party position, it's my own, I live on James Island. 50 years ago, it was a great idea to have the town of James Island, but right now, it's been so broken up, and most of the tax generating properties are now owned by the city. So now I finally went into the city.
Well, it sounds like a good opportunity to try a new philosophy. If you're going to have to reincorporate, you can reincorporate on a specific day. That helps you incorporate, and the name will actually define the mission statement. So if your town wants to be generous, or if your town just wants to be cost conscious, so at the end of the day they can be generous, they have to know how to incorporate and what name to incorporate under. And they have to know what day and name together is a perfect marriage. They can be cost conscious or generous. You tell me the name of your corporation that James Island is incorporated under, and I can tell you what the mission statement is. And I'll guarantee you it's not either cost consciousness or generosity.
Wow. All I can tell you is that with economy of scale, I think it should be Charleston. And when you look at the fact that very little of the town now, very little of James Island could be contiguous, I think it should be the city of Charleston. But let me go back to what is it that you're interested in. The Democrats are bad, the Republicans are bad. I can tell you here in Charleston County that the elected officials that we have in the Democratic Party are there to serve your interest. I would cite David Mack. I would cite Seth Whipper. These people are working for us in the state legislature, and they're running through pluff mud. They're working against the Republicans who are trying to kill our schools. Let's deal with that for a moment. I'm an educator, a retired scientist from the Medical University of South Carolina. Worked there 30 years, and I have to tell you that I live in fear of what the Republicans in our legislature are trying to do to us. They have taken funding for the pre-college, K through 12, and reduced it to levels of that we saw in 1998. We have a state superintendent of education, Zace, who has refused millions of dollars of federal monies that would have helped in the school system. not bad. And how are we dealing with this? Our local local superintendent of schools, Dr. Nancy McGinley, is being forced to put more and more children in the classroom, and we know that classroom size impacts on student achievement. I mean, but what can she do? They've cut out teacher positions, they've furloughed teachers and administrators. The money is not there. The money is there, but the Republicans are putting it in the corporate tax relief, in the big business relief, you name it. There are enough exemptions in taxes so that they would fund our entire state budget and reduce our sales tax, but they won't have that. It's the corporate interests that have gone in there and say, I need this exemption. All right, what got us onto this was we had some good state legislators who were trying to redress this, and they're running against Republican opposition. Not bad enough that the budget is so terrible at the pre-college level. What's happening now is the vehicle via which we were able to move from a lower socioeconomic group into a middle class was what? It was higher ed. All right? What are they doing to us now with higher ed? Well, when I came to the Medical University in 1978, it was a state institution. All right, over the years, it's gone from state to state-assisted to having a minimal amount of its budget supplied by the state. So what's the net result? Well, the net result is, of course, tuition costs have to go up, so that our students are graduating with inordinate debts if they're able to afford to go to college at all. So it's not bad enough that the Republicans are keeping money out of the K through 12 arena. They're destroying the vehicle that created the middle class. And you have elected reps, state reps, and local area people who are working against this, who are trying to work for a moral budget. And that moral budget would do away with these tax exemptions and give us the monies that we need to adequately fund our schools and higher education.
Very well said.
I served on a hospital advisory board for 8 years, and there's two things that impact everyone here more importantly in their lives than any other issue, and that is your personal health care and your personal utility bill. Everyone here has a right to say what's going on with you, whether we should be paying killer insurance corporations who are currently killing 16 people a day, their own policyholders, by denying them life-saving care. So we have a corrupt corporation, and the Obama bill, with very, very mild restrictions, will allow this to continue and to be forced on everyone. And the other issue with your utility bills, you are now paying in advance higher electric and higher gas bills just so they can build a $10 billion nuke plant. We do not need that $10 billion nuke plant. You should not be paying for it in advance. Everyone is paying for it. The taxpayers are paying for it. No one on the stockholders are paying for it, but the stockholders will reap all the profits for it. Well over 7% once they build this thing, if they do, but we can stop it. We have stopped nukes in Iowa, we've stopped nukes in New Hampshire, we can stop 2 nukes planned here in South Carolina. You have to go to your ratepayers commissions. You're going to have to write to your newspaper. You're going to have to draft petitions and get neighbors to sign petitions, make phone calls and say, we do not want to pay for these things in advance. We want wind electric generators so we can put them on top of our houses, on top of our businesses, and the electric meter will run in advance when the wind blows. It will make your bill go down. We can do lots of green, sustainable things. And if you let corporations like SCG&E and Duke Energy take over this state, which they have, that's what you're going to get. It's very, very expensive, very, very deadly, very, very unsustainable. We live on an earthquake zone. These nuke plants are not safe. Fort Calhoun, Nebraska had a no-fly zone for over a month right along the Missouri River because whenever you have flood problems and lack of cooling water into the plant, you have a meltdown. And so the pilots were not allowed to fly over, and the federal government was censoring that information, and it took a courageous morning news crew in Omaha when pilots were calling and complaining, why is this news not being told to everyone? So the government is not telling you the truth. You have to dig for the truth, and you've got to get out there and be active. Call in your power company, If a daily basis, it never would hurt. When we start flooding their switchboards and start pumping their mailbox full of "we don't want this," they'll start listening. But right now, inaction is giving us the problem.
Could somebody stand, I don't have my contacts on yet, would somebody that sees well stand up and give me a count of how many people are present at this gathering at this moment? And just come around and whisper it in my ear?
Rough estimate 47.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
I feel like the point of this conversation is kind of getting away from the point here.
Yeah, I agree.
And we need to discuss how political parties are relevant, and I feel like what actually we're doing is campaigning for political parties in general. I'd like to get back to the first point. And
well, I agree with you because that's why I came here.
Right. Oh, I'd like to get back to the point how, I mean, Democrats and Libertarians and the Green Party are still relevant to our county in general.
My views, standing in the outside of the duopoly of the Republicans and the Democrats, is that we go back and forth, and one year Democrats control it and say the Republicans did a bad job, and the next year and yeah, we have three problems here. The first is that the system keeps getting worse no matter who's controlling it. They all say we're going to fix what the other guys broke, and then it gets worse. Couple that with the fact that, yes, certainly at the national level, you see an awful lot of corruption. You see an awful lot of politicians taking a lot of money from people to do things. And it's people don't trust them anymore, and so how are they relevant? Well, if you think about it at a national level, the issues at the national level, who's going to be president, have nothing to do with who's on city council, who's the mayor, who's your county council person. So at that level, the labels should mean something different. People should be focusing on the local issues, which is what I thought we were here to talk about, our relevance in the process. I can agree with points both of my colleagues have made about various national issues. I might disagree with some, but they don't affect the fact that that parking lot's underwater. Gosh, is there still drainage downtown? How many years we've been hearing we're going to get the drainage fixed? Doesn't matter who's in office, it doesn't get fixed, does it? And people don't trust the people running the government anymore. The relevance is this. If people don't get involved, if people don't wake up, and it's not just this group, whether you want to call it, you know, your Occupy group, whether you want to call it Tea Party groups, whatever you want to call it, even if it's just that you don't even want to label yourself and you just want to get involved, if people don't wake up, start voting and telling these people that they object to what they're doing, we're just going to keep seeing more problems. The relevance is this. At the local level, the Democrats are part of the process. You can run for office as a Democrat. You can run as a Green, you can run as a Libertarian, you can run as a Republican, and I think there are 4 or 5 other parties. But how often do we have an election where there's a Republican and a Democrat and a Green and a whatever the Reform Party's called and a Libertarian and a Social? How often are there more than just the 2 major ones? Because everyone's fallen in this trap of thinking, well, only the Republicans and only the Democrats can fix it. And as long as it's a 2-party game, it's a seesaw. It's going to go back and forth. I'd love to see 6, 7, 8 parties all active, and I'd love to see, even though I don't agree with everything of the Greens, I'd love to see a Green on county council and a Libertarian, and maybe the debate would open up into more than just, oh, the Republicans are in charge this year, or the Democrats are in charge this year, so the other guys caused this problem, we'll fix it. No, they don't fix the problem. They're not fixing the roads. And a comment about James Island, this may sound interesting. There was support from at least one of the major parties for James Island to exist until the last election, when James Island elected a Libertarian as mayor, and that was it. Now the Republicans and Democrats don't support having a town anymore because Bill Woolsey was a Libertarian. And so, you know, a third party gets somebody in, they shut them down. Now, I know that's a simplistic view of it. There are many other factors involved, but let's put it this way. The 2 major parties, as He said in his opening statement, they believe that the only answer is to pick either the Republicans or the Democrats. There aren't two answers, there are a dozen answers. Yes.
I have a question for all three of you. I often find myself that it's hard to necessarily identify with a political party, whether it be a more mainstream party or a smaller group, because oftentimes my views don't coincide perfectly with one party or another. So my question is, as representatives of particular parties, do you often feel or ever feel as if you have to sacrifice your own particular beliefs in order to ascribe to the doctrine of your own party?
So I get the mic, I'm going to answer first real quick. I found in the Libertarian Party that I can look at our national platform, I have no objections with anything. I've been lucky. I agree with the philosophy of the party I'm in. If I found a point that I disagreed with it on, I'd have to worry about that. I don't know what I would do, but I'm fortunate. I agree with our party's philosophy.
The Green Party is primarily consensus-driven. So you're going to find a home in the Green Party for just about every social and scientific and legal issue. So we have people who are very, very committed to libertarian values in the Green Party. We have in the Green Party, both nationally as well as here locally, people who have a great commitment to feminist issues, social justice issues, all over the map. The nature of the beast in politics, however, is at some point we do have to come together and give a little to get a little. And so you might feel very strongly personally about something. And who knows what it might be. But in a party, you're working with your neighbors, you're working with others to move everything forward in a way that is going to address the issues that mean most to you. So it's tough. I mean, democracy is not a pretty business. On the one hand, I am a neighbor with Bobby Harrell, our Speaker of the House up in Columbia, and I can be polite and friendly and be respectful of this man and his family. But on the other hand, I absolutely want the people, the voters, to fire him and hire me. And that's the way the business is. And I have to, every time I go to a door and knock on a door as a political person, if you want to be a candidate, you'll learn this very quickly, that it's a very intuitive, very sensitive, personal process to maximize your appeal to as many voters as necessary to win an election. So some parties are very driven by issues. And the Libertarian Party did come in fourth last election.
Which election?
The presidential election. Oh. And the third place finisher was Cynthia McKinney, Congresswoman, a former Democrat from Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, Ralph Nader, and then Senator McCain. So we did have a popularly elected president in 2008. For the first time, we suffered for 8 years by an illegally installed man whose brother and corrupt officials in the state of Florida stopped thousands and thousands of black people from voting. So it wasn't a matter of counting and hanging chads. We have a corrupt system that requires participation to fix. And if you're not willing to sacrifice a little bit, and I am a former Democrat, and I'm willing to work with my former Democratic colleagues, including running as a fusion candidate, to get rid of the problem, which is a single ruling party. And I wear a labor shirt because I'm a Teamster, and we do not have any state, county, or city union. It's illegal. And for some reason, the people here are afraid to say, I'll work around the anti-union law. I will somehow negotiate with our firefighters. We have 9 dead firefighters in this city because there were no union safety rules and no union equipment that all other union workplaces are required for firefighters. So at some point, you don't compromise on things like life and death and bread and butter issues, but on other things, you might have to compromise a little bit.
Yo, I'd like to comment on that. Something you said. You said you were a Teamster.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm an ex-Teamster too. I was working at Hess Oil Company over off of North Charleston by the riverfront, and I was a driver, which is what you do with a history degree. But we voted the Teamsters in because they were making us work like 60 hours a week, up to 15 hours non-stop, with no breaks, with an 8-hour break in between that. In other words, you go and you punch your time clock out, and they say, you just did a 15-hour shift, be back in 8 hours, right? Okay, so we voted the Teamsters in, and they came in and they promised us everything. They said, oh man, they weren't even paying us overtime because there was a loophole in the law that said if you made one delivery out of state, that they didn't have to pay overtime. So they were going to correct all these ills that we had, right? And then the Teamsters were voted in, and by a wide majority of the 35 drivers, and the negotiation process began with the shop stewards. Well, the first two shop stewards, after about 6 months of negotiation, both quit on the same day and refused to tell the other drivers why they quit, because they said there was a gag order. Well, I became one of the Teamster officials that was negotiating with the contract, and I went into the negotiation. Lino Akinfora, who was the head of the South Carolina Teamsters Union, was sitting right next to me, and I sat next to him after I'd read this contract where every single one of our demands were turned down, from overtime to having to change tires after a 15-hour shift if they were blown out. Every single one of our demands was rejected. And I sat next to Lino Akinfora, and he suggested to the company lawyer that the new hires be paid $2 an hour less than what the current drivers were being paid. And I looked at him, I said, whose side are you on? And then the whole thing just fell apart, just completely fell apart. All of our demands, none of our demands were met. The only thing that we were left with were dues and less benefits than we had before. That was my Teamster experience. I turned on the Teamsters and started a petition to decertify the union at the Hess terminal.
All right.
Well, I would make a comment on that, and that is that our current governor is really proud of the fact that she's killed unions in South Carolina. And what are we? What's the word? A free.
Right to work.
We're a right to work state, and I will tell you what that means in South Carolina. A right to work means a right to fire your sorry posterior without cause. All right, you got a great job, you're making 35 bucks an hour, you got your nice house, you got the kid in college. All right, you're gone. You're gone. And I can fire you without any cause. So, right. I want to answer the questions about relevance first, because the young man over here said, what relevance is there? And then I go back to the other question.
Well, I think y'all need to give us a chance too, because really, I'm not here, I'm not out in all this cold for the Democrat, the Republican, or nobody. I'm out here because some young people came to my community Saturday, and they woke me up yelling about freedom and justice, and they made me march almost 4 miles out from where I live with them.
All right.
Okay, way to go.
They came early on a Saturday in a black community.
Yes.
I'm telling you, a half a block from my house, I heard 100 young white kids talking about freedom and justice. I'm not here for that. I don't need to hear about the Democrats who are keeping their mouths shut while we are denied border education in this country, while the Republicans are running racial games. They tell a 92-year-old black woman, you got to come and get your ID. The lady comes down there to get her ID and says, oh, you got to go back, get your birth certificate. The lady go get the birth certificate and come back. The lady says, oh, you got to go back and get your marriage license. A 92-year-old black woman. A 92-year-old black woman.
That's Nikki Haley's photo ID.
The Republican Party are so racist, they can't hide it anymore. Everything they do against Obama is simply because his skin is black. First time in this country you got a law coming up where you start deciding the depth of this country, and they're putting it on a decision because of Obama. They're making it something that the whole Congress could shut the country down over. Never been done before, but no president.
Yeah.
Black people have had to deal with a lot of white people being president. How do you think black people feel when we see some white people? That's the first black president we got.
First president was
black.
Excuse
me,
my man. Never had a red president. Shoot
it. That's the first black president we got.
First president was
excuse me, my man.
Before Washington
excuse
was
me. Excuse me. I'm talking, all right?
Get your history right.
Excuse me. Come on, all right?
Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on.
Let me tell you something. First of all, I'm out here because of the occupancy people. Not the Democrat, not the Republican, not the Libertarian. Y'all got something new. What you need to do, like the Tea Party, infiltrate the Republicans. Y'all need to infiltrate the Democrats for right now. But you need to form your own party. Use the Democrats for now. Don't become Democrats like the Tea Party becoming Republicans. That's good because it identifies who the Republicans are to us now. Let them stay there. They come with hatred. Y'all come with love. Y'all come with unity. The best thing you got going is unite with your other occupiers throughout America.
Yes.
Form your own group.
Yes.
Form. Y'all had me going down the street. I'm from the 60s. In 1969, 500 black women came out of the Medical University Hospital on strike because they were treated badly. They weren't paid. I was a young student leader there. I've been involved since I was a young kid. Right where we at now, I used to row a boat right where we at. We used to swim right here. All this is water. That's how far back we go here. We got one of the most racist mayor in Mayor Raleigh. I attack him for gentrification. That means when you move the black people out and you move the white people in. Gentrification is the worst thing could have happened to Charleston. Everybody historically talk about Porgy and Bess. They know Charleston from that. Porgy and Bess children have been wiped out of Charleston now. No more black culture here. We've been pushed out of the city. That's a crime. That's a crime. So don't be tricked by no Democrat or Republican. Stay with yourself. Just use the party that you can use now. But organize among yourselves throughout this country.
You were speaking earlier about
unfortunately, we're out of time.
Response.
We'll let each of the party leaders do a 1-minute response, and that will wind up this section, and then I got to make a couple of quick announcements.
Oh, let's keep on going.
All right, well...
yeah, but I've got mine next.
This is working.
All right, points well taken over here. And it speaks to the question that was raised just moments ago, and that is, what is the relevance of the parties? And I would suggest to you, and I did when I first began to speak, that this is marvelous because it brings to the fore the issues that are really important. But so what? You have to implement, you have to work for change, and I would suggest to you the way to do that is as the gentleman suggests, infiltrate the Democratic Party. You don't have to infiltrate us. I really feel like the Libertarians know. The Libertarians don't want government, but the Green Party, the Green Party ought to be the Green Party. All right. The Green Party should be a part of the Democratic Party. But at any rate, the idea is sound. If you want to get something done, you got to do it through the extant parties, the ones that have the power to make the change. And so come join the Democrats. Make us accountable. Hold us to the standards that I see around here.
All right, George, I got to moderate.
All right, okay, I'm
Stuart's
up.
Turn.
Stuart.
Yes or no question?
Yeah. Do any of these parties now have a stand on term limits
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, each one of
We
you
all
just
do.
give a quick answer to that right now.
I don't know.
Public financing.
Okay. Term limits. Democrats, yes or no?
Take the money out.
What was the question?
Term limits, yes or no? Democrats.
No.
All right. And
Absolutely.
Absolutely, term limits. This is the problem that we have. The only term limits we have is on the presidency and nowhere else.
She said yes or no.
And well, all right.
Take the money out.
Is give the politicians a shorter span of time in which to steal as much as they can.
What about lobbying?
Take the money out.
The money has to go out.
Why are they lobbying so they can pay somebody to vote the way they want? That I think it should be illegal.
That's what I'm saying. Take the money out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's democracy at work. Okay, let's vote on whether we want to continue this discussion.
Well,
how about
it's
that?
because I'm about to show you.
It's a vibrant discussion, and I think it needs to be continued. And I think this gentleman made some excellent points that I would like to expand upon.
Well, we have 3 more days.
Okay, well, I've got maybe 1 more hour.
Right while the iron's hot.
Well, the problem is that.
And sweet grass.
Give me the floor. Just give me the floor.
No.
Is the point of this to show your opinions, to get the protest
Well,
right, to show
You want to know about
Okay.
racism? I'll tell you about racism right
Okay,
now.
let's-
You're not even aware of. I live in a section of Hanahan
Hey.
called Tanner Plantation. It's a historic black
Let's get this wrapped up.
right? It's been there for 150 years.
Let us get our minute.
Then all of a sudden, developers bought out all the property around there, 4,000 something acres, and they built 4,000 homes. And there was an old black community that I'm the only white resident in that's been there for 150 years. All right, they built 4,000 homes all around us, and they refused to extend sewage down to the African American folks down the street. Why did they do that? They did that because the black folks own large tracts of land that the developers want. They don't want the black folks to be empowered to have
This is all titillating,
to
but
make
it's
the decision.
the effect, not the cause.
Right.
If you want to get to the cause, you got to reincorporate.
And we're going to be covering racism as a problem in South Carolina at 2 o'clock.
25 years
All
ago,
right.
60 minutes down.
Come on, guy.
First president.
Well, let's finish.
That's the 2 o'clock discussion.
Yeah.
Guys, let's stay on topic.
Yeah. It'll only take me 30 seconds to close up. The people who say solve the problem by infiltrating the Democrats, infiltrating the Republicans, and fixing it, it doesn't work. You, to quote from a science fiction story, you become part of the system. You get assimilated.
Yeah, but you don't
Go join the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, start a new party. Don't feed the problem by staying with the Democrats and Republicans.
You don't stay a part of it. You use it for the time you need, and then you perform your harm. That's
My brother has made it very clear. There's 178,000 of us who do not have photo IDs that are being forced to have a poll tax because any cost involved to go and register. I have a voter registration card, and they're trying to invalidate my voter registration card because I don't have a photo ID. So if Attorney General Holder does not invalidate this law, it's still going through administrative processes. If this doesn't get invalidated, we have the courts. We can go to the courts and file a lawsuit for the racist and discriminatory policies that violates a previous poll tax decision of the U.S. Supreme Court back in the 50s. So there are solutions to the problem. There are other parties not represented here. There's the Constitution Party, which is primarily interested in stopping abortions. There is the Labor Party. There is the United Citizens Party that was founded by who is now currently a Democrat minority, Jim Clyburn.
Larry, just talk about the Greens.
So if you want to be involved in a party driven by consensus and preventing global warming and lowering your electricity bills and putting people to work installing wind electricity, join the Green Party.
All right. We're going to take a 5-minute break.